All right, welcome back to the Reasonably Debatable podcast. Chris and Chris, father and son, the best father-son podcast on the internet. What's up?
That's right. Cheers.
Cheers. I got the Fat Boy Corona out with my baby Millennium Falcon bottle opener.
Right.
I had a Predator one. It can barely even fit on this bottle. But yeah, we were, hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving. We took a break for a little bit for the holidays, but we're back.
All right. And just to let people know, and to be fair, we did record another podcast, but we had some technical issues and you could hear us, but the video was really messed up. So instead of trying to record the same podcast, we're like, that'd be, so we just scrapped it. But there was another one. We did one. It just had some problems.
Yeah, we were going to do a bracket for you guys, but it recorded the audio, but no visuals. So we're just going to do a tier list today, best video game consoles. And yeah, I mean, we got a good bit. So I said we jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving break and getting ready for Christmas. And also, before we jump into this, I want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
All the likes and shares and subscribes and everyone commenting on the videos. We love that. And, we respond. So, smash the like button, like, share, comment, helps us out a ton. So appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. So this one's best video games. Again, for the people listening, ranked, it's tier maker. S is the best to A, B, C, D, and F.
Is S for like special?
I looked it up. It's like superb, supreme, special, supreme. Yeah. It's just like OP.
What the hell is OP?
Overpowered. Like Thanos is OP.
Okay.
If you have, Superman's OP. It's too many superpowers.
Right.
Batman is not OP. All right.
That could be a whole podcast.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're doing another Batman.
I'm excited for it, though. He's my favorite superhero. I get down. We've had like 10 Spider-Mans. We can have like 10 Batmans. That's all right.
Yeah, but I mean, Ben Affleck is still doing Batman movies. Christian Bale could still do it. Michael Keaton could still do it. We have like several living Batmen. We don't need to add another one.
Well, it's same for Spider-Man.
Oh, that's nonsense too.
Yeah. So, all right. So this one, it's going to be all the video game consoles. Not all of them. There's a couple that I cannot get on here. Some of the older ones. I'll scroll down just so everyone can kind of see what we got here. We have handhelds. We got Nintendo. We got Sony. We got Microsoft. We got Atari. And I thought this would put them in order from when they came out. That's when I tried to do it, but instead it looks like we got a jumbled mess here. So,
well, let's just start with the first one.
All right. So the first one we got on the list is the Nintendo 64. I'm gonna let you know.
We're pulling this one out early. This should be. We're gonna have some people turn it off already. We should have saved this one.
Well, hey, we're coming out the gate with fire this episode. Let's go.
That's one way to say it.
What's your thoughts on the Nintendo 64?
Well, I know we're not going to agree on this, but I'd have it somewhere in the F range.
Whoa.
I didn't like that console at all. I don't have any fond memories of playing it. I didn't like the controller. I didn't like the way it looked. I hated Mario 64 because you would die all the time, not because you did anything wrong, but just because you couldn't see the screen. Like you just couldn't tell that there was lava in front of you or a Goomba or something.
Yeah, the controller was terrible, and it was
the camera.
There was no second analog stick, so you had the middle stick to move, and then you had to use a second D-pad to change frames of a camera. So you weren't actually controlling the camera.
Yeah, that was rough. If you're gonna have a 3D game,
but it was kind of
a lot of people liked it.
It was really a pioneer though, because you have to think it was one of the first 3D consoles, and Mario 64 is considered one of the first 3D games, like full 3D.
If we were ranking Mario games, that would be my dead last place.
I mean, it's not my favorite Nintendo console, and it was before my time. I mean, I was alive for it when it came out, but I was like 1.
Yeah. No, I don't think you were alive when it came out.
I thought it came out in 98.
No, I think it was a little earlier than that.
Well, I'm gonna say I would give it at least a C. So let's meet in the middle at the B.
Wait, how is a B in the middle of C and F?
You said F, I said C, and I said let's meet at D.
Oh, I thought you said let's meet at B.
Oh no. Yeah, this one.
I mean, the thing is, GoldenEye was on there,
which was
a lot
great.
of people liked it. Yeah, if you could see where your enemies were.
It's rough if you play it now. I've tried to play it now.
It's rough if you compare it to other consoles that were out at the same time, like the original PlayStation.
Yeah,
was like a lot better.
You had no D-pad on that though, or no.
But you had dual analog sticks. It was the first console to have dual analog sticks. Was the PlayStation 1.
PS2, PS1 didn't have any analog sticks.
When they first released it, the first controllers didn't. But after it had been out a few months, they released the dual analog controllers for the PS1.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of PlayStation, we got the PlayStation 2.
Great console. Probably other than like the original Nintendo, or I don't know, maybe the Atari. I wouldn't know the stats, but I know that there was a lot of games on the PS2.
Yeah, probably the biggest,
super large library.
Yeah, for sure. And there were so many good games. All the Grand Theft Auto trilogy.
Yeah.
Resident Evil. I remember playing Resident Evil 4 on that. So
yeah, and all my fighting game fans out there know, like there's a lot of like the Capcom and SNK fighting games on there. Those were all really good.
It was like Capcom versus something, wasn't it?
They had those, the Capcom versus SNK and Capcom versus Marvel. SNK also did like King of Fighters and stuff like that. They were all pretty good.
I don't know if for me it doesn't make S though. It's hard to.
No, for sure.
Like
for sure it doesn't make it. But I mean, also, I think if I'm not mistaken, this was the first console that would also play DVDs.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was Xbox, but
no, this was out before Xbox.
That's true. I'd put it like a B. What do you think?
Yeah. I'd put it at a B for sure.
All right. Next we have I got a funny story with it. Next we have the Atari 2600. And go ahead. I have a video game business, me and my cousin Shane. And we got an Atari this week, and I couldn't figure out how to work the thing because it came with the joystick, but it came with these paddles for Pong.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out like how to plug these in and where the controllers go. And there's like 4 levers, like it's a Dr. Dre studio. Like me and Shane are sitting there. We're trying to like YouTube how to hook up an Atari. I had no idea. We couldn't even get it to work.
That is ridiculous. That reminds me of the video, the girl who was at her grandma's house and she had like a house phone, but she still had like an old school, like it was like a rotary, you know what I mean?
And she had
the granddaughter like just couldn't figure it out, like couldn't make a call.
It definitely made me feel young. We had no idea because there's like 5 switches on it. You have to like, and then there's switches for each controller. You have to switch them in, and then it's like you have to switch it for color TV or not, and then you have to go to channel 2 or channel 3. It was wacko.
I mean, the first home console though.
Yeah,
the first one.
You had Pac-Man on there too, which is cool,
and Donkey Kong, and Mario Brothers.
So really, I just took arcade games and put them in your house.
Well, wait. That's the Atari 2600.
Yeah,
it wasn't until the Atari 7800, I think. It was like the last one they make before Nintendo came out that had like Donkey Kong and Miss Pac-Man.
Right. So yeah, this is definitely before my time. So I'm gonna let you rank it. I don't think it'd be fair. I can figure out.
Well, hold on. Do you scroll down a little bit? Do you have the Atari 7800 on here?
Yeah,
you do. Yeah, right there. So how do you know if this is the 76 or the 26 or the 7800?
You know what? I'm just now noticing looking at this, it put everything on here twice.
Okay. All right. So let's just yeah, we'll just do the first two rows then.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. First
Yeah,
time we see that we've done, or wait, it didn't put them in the same order, did it?
it did not. Well, we'll know when we get
All
to the
right, you know
ones
what?
that's
We'll see what happens.
yeah, but no, that's the only I think
We'll
that's
just count. We'll just count this as all the Ataris because there was like,
I do
and I
have
mean, and it wasn't a different console. It was like the difference between an Xbox One, an Xbox One S, and an Xbox One X.
yeah,
It's the same console. They're just slightly better.
right.
You know what I mean? It's not like the difference between a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 3.
Right.
It's yeah, I'd give it a B, just because I mean I played Atari. I played Atari at people's houses. It was the first home console, and Pac-Man was fun. Donkey Kong was fun. Cubert was fun.
It's rough to play it now though. But honestly, I feel like it's actually harder to play like the older 3D games than the older 2D games or the simple
Oh, for
games
sure.
because the mechanics were just not good. All right, next we got the Game Boy Advanced SP, and in fact, we have the one that you got me, the blue one.
Yep. I got you guys like one blue one and one red one, right?
Yeah, we had everything red and blue. You got us a red and blue Beta Fish and a red and blue Game Boy and red and blue everything, shirts, everything. I was a Crip and Nick was a Blood.
That's why you guys fought so much.
Right. Yeah, for me, it's great. I think it's the best Game Boy easily, hands down.
I do too. I'd
because it's just
it
a
gets
Game Boy Advance with a colored screen or with a light screen.
yeah. Yeah. I would think that for sure it was the Nintendo's best handheld console.
Yeah, for
And
me,
the games were great on it because it was like but again, I just want to point out that as good as it is, it was years after the Game Gear.
which is on here. We'll get to
Right.
that.
Right. So I mean it, if you're doing something that was done years ago and it should be dramatically better. And when it's like, oh yeah, this does the same thing that one that came out, 6 years ago does.
Right. Well, and the cool thing I thought about the SP is like with the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color and stuff, a lot of the games were super short. I mean, even Mario was like you had like one world and it was done. But with the Advance, you had full games. Like Metroid was a full game, Mario was a full game.
Yeah, you could play Super Nintendo games in your hand.
Yeah. And the cool thing too was well, not for older people, but for me being younger, was you could watch movies on it or episodes of shows. Like you could get like 4 SpongeBob episodes on the cartridge, slap it in and watch it on the car ride.
Get like couldn't it be like an hour total or something? You get like an hour and 10 minutes or something, like almost enough for a movie.
You could get a couple episodes of like SpongeBob or Fairly Odd Parents or whatever. So it was always cool for us to have on the car rides and stuff like that. So for me, it's an A.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that being an A. That's pretty good.
All right, next we got the Xbox 360.
Oh man, yeah, that's great. That's definitely an
great
A
console.
for me. For the time it came out, yeah, it was great. It's great.
Do you think it's the best Xbox console we've got?
No. People are going to argue with me about it, but I would think the original. But just because, like, I give a lot of points to like the first to do something,
right?
Or like if you did something and like everything was one way before you did it, and then you did something and then everything was different after that,
right?
Like there's video games before Halo and video games after Halo, and all the video game world just changed. It was like, oh, this is how video games are supposed to be.
Well, and
this
online
is how shooters are supposed to be. This is how Xbox Live,
right?
Oh, System Link. Oh, like it was great.
The 360 was awesome though. Like I said, we talked about this before a little bit in our podcast that got scrapped. I remember you getting the Grand Theft Auto, you like waiting in line to get GTA 4, like the pre-release when it came out. And yeah, a lot of good games. And for me, even most of the games that I played on that I play on my Xbox One are just ported from the Xbox. Games like Red Dead and
Oh yeah.
GTA 5 and
Yep.
a lot of ones. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Skyrim was great.
they still,
Mm.
yeah, we're still getting that over and over again. But
Yeah, that definitely gets an A. I'm trying to think. The Fight Night game. Oh my God, all the UFC games, all the THQ UFC games.
yep,
If we did a fighting game, I think the third THQ UFC game, man, that might still be one of the greatest fighting games of all time. Like the EA ones that they have now on the new consoles
yeah,
are like just now catching up to where the THQ ones were.
yeah,
Like, you know,
they were awesome. Yeah, I
they,
remember. I
yeah.
think it was like, didn't it have like Anderson Silva on the cover on the third one?
I know maybe. Because they did like what was it, UFC 2000 UFC, and then it was like UFC 2008, and then they didn't want to number it like Madden because they didn't want to have the pressure to do one every year.
Well, they had 2010 and had Brockhampton on it.
Who was on there?
Oh, I said Brockhampton. Brock Lesnar, not the rap group. No, I meant Brock Lesnar. Yeah, 2010 had Brock Lesnar. 2011, or no,
Yeah,
29 had what's his name? First UFC fight I ever watched.
Chuck Liddell,
No,
Forrest Griffin.
Forrest Griffin was on the 2009 cover.
Right, and then the third one they just called UFC 3, which up there with, like, for me, with like Mortal Kombat and like just the best fight, Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2, the best fighting games of all time. Like, it was, that third THQ game was phenomenal, but they were so in the hole. Like the company was just dying, and so that third UFC was not enough to save them. But it was a fantastic game.
Yeah, and the console was amazing. So yeah, I'm not mad with keeping it at an A. All right,
No,
next
I'm
week
good with that.
we got the Nintendo Wii.
Oh, and I just want to say before we go any further, the podcast that we did was a bracket fight,
Yeah,
but that's the one we lost. That's the only bracket fight we did.
right.
Right. So, I mean, if we reference, doing brackets or whatever, just, we did one. It just, that's the one that we had some problems.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and some technical difficulties. We'll get them worked out. But yeah, we got the Nintendo Wii. It's like I said before, and I someone fact check me and put it down below, but I think it's the best selling console of all time.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised because people are living longer and longer, and there's a lot of nursing homes in this country.
Yep.
And every nursing home in the country has a Nintendo Wii in it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
At least one.
And I used to be a teacher, and every school and every daycare had a Nintendo Wii for kids to play. And
like Apple when they signed those school deals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they didn't have to have a better product, or they didn't even have to have a product that was as good as any other product. They could have and a lot of times they did have a really far inferior product, but it didn't matter because,
right.
10 million schools signed a deal to buy Apple computers for 50 years.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for me, I know I've told you the story before, but for the people listening, my friend had a Wii, and I went over and played it, and it literally blew me away when it came out, because I was a kid and I really thought it was the future of gaming. I thought we'll never go back to using a regular controller. We'll never go back to that. Like, we're full VR. We're into the game. I think the mechanics were still kind of young then. It wasn't like you said, like you could do boxing, you could just shake your hands.
Yeah.
You didn't actually have to like box.
Yeah, I'm in the room boxing my ass off. I'm jabbing. I'm using head movement. It didn't matter. I'm getting my ass kicked by somebody just sitting there going like this.
Yeah. So, and there was a couple good games for it. I mean, everyone knows it for Wii Sports, and I think Mario Galaxy is an amazing game. But besides that, it didn't really have a whole lot of games.
I know that you guys wanted it. I know that it was a ridiculous item at Christmas time, and I know that I had to stand in line at Black Friday at midnight or whatever. And
I'm pulling this up because I seen this, and this kind of fits in. I seen a meme the other day, and it
while
said,
you're pulling that up, did I tell you that I tried to start a dating service for chickens? But I had to shut it down because I was having trouble making hens meet.
"Oh my gosh, yeah, that's
I'm gonna try to sneak in at least 2 corny ass dad jokes
the
every podcast.
dad is going to tell the dad jokes." This says either you had a Wii growing up or your parents are still together. You only got one. And that's funny because
True.
a lot of kids I knew growing up, it was like your parents were together, so you just got like a Wii for Christmas or like a Kinect or something. I remember that. But yeah, where are you ranking this?
I'm gonna let you rank the Wii because I the only thing I ever played on there was boxing and bowling, and I think I threw my shoulder out on it on that bowling game. Your brother, yeah, he had that like patented Wii Sports bowling move. Like he had a whole step with it, and like he would whip his arm around. Yeah,
Yeah. For me, it's kind of mid tier. I mean, it's like it was awesome for the function of it, but I've used it for mainly GameCube games, and it's not a console like I go back to play like retro games.
yeah. I don't have any like.
So for me, it's going middle of the road.
Yeah, it's definitely better than the 64, but nowhere near as good. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, middle of the road. All right, next we got a PS4. I've played a couple I've never owned a PS4, but I've played my friends and stuff, but you actually have a PS4, so I'll let you take this one away.
That definitely gets an A. The PS4 is great. All the apps that work on it are great. It's the only console with The Last of Us 2, which in my opinion has a really strong case for the best game of all time. If not, it's second or third. Like somebody might be super partial to Halo or Red Dead Redemption, or one of them on the list may be their favorite, so that'd be their number one.
Right.
But in fact, I was always like an Xbox guy. I didn't have the PS2. I had the original Xbox. I had the 360. It wasn't until The Last of Us came out where I was like, oh my God, the greatest game ever made just came out. I have to buy a PS3. And then they were like, hey, we're going to make a sequel. So I was like, all right, I got to buy a PS4.
Yeah, PlayStation easily has the best exclusives. And that's why like they keep getting me every year because I'm like, I'm like you, I stick with Xbox just because that's what I know. You had an original Xbox, me and Nick had the 360. I had an Xbox One. So I don't want to switch, but it's like, man, I really want to play Ratchet and Clank. I really want to play Spider-Man. I want to play The Last of Us. And now they made another Spider-Man game, and I want to play God of War, and you can't get that on Xbox. Xbox is still holding on to Forza and Halo. It's like you guys
Forza. Nobody plays Forza. Nobody plays Forza. Nobody plays that shit. They play Gran Turismo, or they like the Need for Speed, the games with like turbo booster, you go flying through the air or some shit.
Yeah, Xbox has like no exclusives, and we've talked about this before. I hate PlayStation controllers, but PS4 is the only one I can.
They got it right. Yeah, I when I got the PlayStation 3, that's one of the reasons I never was a PlayStation guy. I didn't like the controllers because I play fighting games more than anything else, and the PlayStation analogs are raised out. So when you're doing combos, your thumbs will slip off the stick when you're trying to do them really fast.
Right.
But the Xbox controllers, the sticks were sunk in, so your thumbs would stay in them. Sorry about hitting the mic. Your thumbs would stay in them a lot better. And so I got the PS3 when it wasn't technically Xbox. It was like they had a different name for it, but it was an Xbox 360 controller.
Yeah, like the third party ones you could use for it.
Yeah, and that's what I always used. And now the PS4 it's finally got really good controllers.
So you said put that in A.
Yeah. I mean, I have it on. I don't have it on right now, but I've been playing. I got the PS Plus, the membership.
Yeah,
I've had it for years. I had it on the PS3. I have it on the PS4. It's great because they give you like at least 2 free games every month.
Yeah.
And they just gave one that's awesome. It's called Mortal Shell. Have you ever played that?
Mm-mm.
It's so hard. So it's no explanation, no maps, no guide. They just drop you in here and it's super hard. But anyway, it's
Is it like a shooter?
it's more like a I don't want to say hack and slash because you can't button mash. You have to like know what you're doing. But you're kind of like it's kind of like a hack and slash, kind of like Skyrim. You're like a demon, and the shells are like people that you possess. You possess like different bodies and just go around and kill people.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like
that does sound cool. I'm gonna check that out.
yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, the PS4 definitely it's good Blu-ray player.
Yep.
Definitely.
All right. I should have added a category because I don't think me or you have played the PS5.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
So I'm actually going to add that real quick. I'm going to add a row below.
Okay.
Just because I don't want to. I want to be fair to it.
Just an N/A.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can't rank the ones we haven't played.
So PS5, I'm sure it's great. You can't get your hands on them. I know up here in Columbus, there's people like getting shot over them, and
that's insane.
Yeah, I mean it's and in fact, a little story. I think this happened up here. If someone knows the story, link it down below. This guy, he had some Jordans he wanted to sell, and he went to the hood around here. I don't know where at, and he went to go sell the Jordans, and like 4 dudes jumped out with guns, made him get in the car, drive to an ATM, take all of his money out. They took all of his money, beat him, took the Jordans, and took off with his car and left him on the road.
It's a damn shame.
Yeah, and apparently people are going crazy for the PlayStation. You can't get them anywhere. So
that's nuts because if I'm wrong about this, but I think they're going to keep making PS4 games for like another 3 years. Like, I think it's going to be years that they're still making PS4 games. I think I saw something that was like over like 200 games already in development for the PS4 that are scheduled to come out over the next couple years, plus all the PS4 games, like like the PS Plus games and stuff.
Right.
So
yeah, I think
you can get PS5 time for a while.
And also nowadays, I think the upgrades are so like they're not as big as they used to be. Like the difference between a GameCube and a Wii is completely different. But the difference between a PS4 and a PS5 is like, maybe slightly better graphics, slightly better controls, but it's the same console, really.
Yeah, Xbox has kind of gotten that way. Like from the original to the 360, there was a lot.
Yeah.
But the 1, the 1S, the 1X, the
new Series X.
I don't know what it is, the Revolution or the Spin Box, or I don't know.
The refrigerator.
What the hell they call it.
Yeah. And everyone says this one looks like a router.
It does.
Yeah, it's got roasted to look like a internet router. Or people says it looks like a binder. It gets roasted a lot, but
yeah.
All right, next we have the Nintendo Switch. A bit of a disagreement with me and you on this one.
It's not a bad console. All of my kids except for your sister have it.
Right.
You have one, Nick has one, Oscar has one, Bug has one, Genevieve doesn't have one.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're great. And as far as handhelds, they're awesome.
Right.
I hate that like Nintendo can't they just ever make a console, just like a regular console, and just do it good? Why do they always have to have some gimmick?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
this one makes fart noises when you walk in the room. Ha ha ha. Well, a decent controller and some HD graphics, bro. How about that?
Yeah, no, and
how about a good frame rate?
I'll give you that. The thing is like, the cool thing about the Switch is like with all their handhelds before, all the Game Boys and DSs and stuff, you always had to play a dumbed down version of something. Like you could play Call of Duty on the Xbox, and you could play like Call of Duty special missions on the DS.
Right.
That was garbage. The Switch is the first time where you can actually play the actual games that everyone else is playing handheld. Now, you're right. You're not going to play it in 4K like everyone else. Right. You're not going to play it 60 frames per second like everyone else. You're going to play it in 480 to 1080 depending on how your internet is, and but at the end of the day, you can still in a car ride, on a plane, at the beach, sit there and play The Witcher
Yeah.
3 or whatever game it is. So for that, I think it's cool. I agree. I think they should, at this point in time, it's like they're kind of behind on graphics and everything else, but I think the Switch is an awesome console. For me,
I
it's
do
not that.
too. I don't have a problem with the Switch console at all. I have a problem with the company of Nintendo just not making a decent console.
Yeah,
I mean, it's cool. Like as far as their handhelds, they dominate.
yeah.
You know what I mean? They're the best. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like they're always coming out with like outdated technologies. Like, hey guys, remember those games you played 10 years ago? Well,
Yeah,
now you can play them in your car, or you know what I mean? It's all right,
yeah.
man. How about some new stuff?
And I guess that's one. I mean, that's is one cool thing, cool or bad, about the Switch is it's kind of like an encyclopedia for your old games because you can play.
That part is really cool.
Yeah, you can
That
play
part,
Super
the
Nintendo,
library
Nintendo.
about the yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I'd put it as an A.
Yeah, for me,
Um,
it's an A. I'm not giving it an S either. I think I'm saving that for a couple on here that I know, or at least an
yeah,
S.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, speaking of Nintendo handhelds, next we have the Nintendo 3DS.
Um, other than like a couple Mario games and maybe the Street Fighter game, the DS can eat a bowl of shit.
now, now
The
this one did.
2DS, the 3DS, they had so many games where you had to use the stylus to like walk or move, or it was so bad. Like the
The
controls,
stylus was terrible.
yeah, any of the games where you could just use like all the new Super Mario, you know how it
Yeah,
would say like new Super Mario Brothers 1 and 2 and stuff like that. Those
yeah,
were fantastic.
yeah,
And then the first Mario Maker was on like 3DS.
yep,
Anything you didn't have to use the stylus and screen for were great.
yeah,
But that was 8 games.
right.
Every other
Well,
game on there, you had to use that stupid stylus and touchscreen, and it didn't work.
yeah, and my thing is like one thing with all these consoles is I love backwards compatibility, and like with the Game Boy Advance you could play your original Game Boy games, and on the original DS you could play Game Boy Advance games, but the
Yeah.
3DS was backwards compatible with the DS, and the DS library wasn't as good. So I like even nowadays if I'm going to play a DS I want the original DS so I can still pop in Metroid Fusion and play it on the go, on the two screens. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the 3DS. And 3DS spec was pretty cool. Again, like you said, Nintendo always has a gimmick, has to be,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
now, and if you could get that 3DS at like just the right angle,
yeah,
like if you could get it just right to where the 3D would pop and you could see it really well, it was like the fighting game, the Street Fighter was on there, was really good. It was super fun.
yeah,
And if you could get 2 people that had the 3DS and you could play 3D with somebody, that was super fun. But I don't think I mean I have good vision, but I don't think anybody with glasses could play it.
no,
That's like
yeah.
half the population. You
Well,
know what I mean?
and the thing is with these games on here, with these game consoles, it's like we have such a vast, because it's starting from like the 70s with the Atari all the way up until now with the PlayStation
Yeah.
5. And some of these you remember fondly as a kid,
Yeah.
and you have definitely a different gaming experience as a kid and adult. Like the adult
Yeah.
looks
I
at.
remember being so happy that I didn't have to leave my house and somehow come up with a bag of quarters so I could walk and play video games.
Yeah.
When I could just like be in my stupid pajamas and go turn on the Nintendo.
Yeah.
Ah, what are you talking about?
So I think it's kind of the same thing for the DS. Is not this one, the other one, which we'll get to. It's like for me, I was a kid when it came out, so it was the coolest thing ever. But as an adult, I can see where it's like it's not really that appealing.
Yeah, I don't think it was one of their better ones.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I I don't think it's better than the Wii.
I don't either. I'd put it a D right
Yeah,
beside the 64.
that's
And
fair.
Nintendo fans, calm down. There's their best consoles getting ready to hop up.
Hey, I mean,
Like,
they've almost made every category on here. We've been pretty fair.
yeah,
All right, next we have the OG original Nintendo.
that's the S, man. You have to. Like, that's an S. Uh Nintendo had 2 home runs, and they're, you know what I mean? Like the SP is good, the Switch is good, but man, that original Nintendo was just, it was great.
Yeah,
The Nintendo Power, the Nintendo cartoons, the Nintendo Power, by the way, was a magazine. by the way, for the millennials, magazines were like little books with pictures that you would get. That's
Right.
how we would get information before the internet.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Mike Tyson's Punch Out, all the Mario games, Ninja Turtles, Final Fantasy,
It's crazy though,
Paperboy.
looking back at like 8-bit graphics, because obviously like I was an adult. I'm not nostalgic for the original Nintendo. I mean, I have fun playing Mario Bros 3. I like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, but I didn't have it as a kid, so it was never like revolutionary for me. But I do understand you don't have the Switch without the Nintendo.
Yeah.
You don't have half these consoles without the Nintendo.
No, you don't have video games as we know it at all without the Nintendo. They were dying off. Like the Atari had lost popularity. It was just arcades. Like they were like, oh, the home games suck. Like let's just go to the arcades.
Right.
Super Tecmo Bowl. Are you kidding me? Super Tecmo Bowl. And Tecmo Bowl too, but Super Tecmo Bowl was like the first really good football game.
Yeah,
you could like pick your plays and you could make substitutions and you could.
It was so cheesy to how like when you would say hike, like your 8-bit characters would like either like slide where they need to go or they'd like you know what I mean? Like it was so bad.
Yeah. Oh, have you ever played it would be super rough now, but have you ever went back and played like John Elway's quarterback? That'd be rough now.
Yeah, no, for sure. This next one, I seen this on the list. Sorry, I'm grabbing some here. I think it's the first Sega console. Let me zoom in and see if I can see
what it is. The Master Drive?
No, this was their first console. This was their 8-bit console.
All right. That would be the Master System.
Because I see on here we have this. I think this is the Master System.
That's the Saturn. Genesis. That's the Genesis. Yeah, the 8-bit Sega was the Sega Master System.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I've never even played it. So that's all.
That was kind of like big in Japan and Europe.
Yeah,
but the original Sega, like before the Genesis, they never really promoted it in America. Nobody had even heard of it. Like they never sold it. It was just, I mean, there was a few copies. It was
I've never even played it. I don't even know what that controller is. This would probably be another one that I wouldn't know how to hook up if someone handed it to me.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's zoom in again.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't even know what that is.
I have a picture of it on my phone just to kind of help to see what it is. It is
while you're looking
the SG 1000.
Go ahead. Oh, okay, yeah, that is way before. That's like their Atari.
Yeah, that was their very first console.
Yeah, that's way before.
So maybe that wasn't 8-bit. Maybe that was.
Yeah, let's put that on NA because that I didn't even. That's way before.
Yeah.
I was while you were checking through your phone, I was gonna tell you my paper joke.
All right, let's hear it.
Nah, don't worry about it. It's terrible.
Oh my gosh. Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah. All right, next, man. I thought we were gonna save this one, but we're right into it. The Super Nintendo.
S.
Yeah, this is
S.
Probably. And the crazy thing is this was way before I was born, but it might be my favorite console of all time.
If this would have came out before the Sega Genesis, I would say it was the greatest console of all time. Yeah. But it came out after the Genesis, so I think it's the second greatest console of all time. But yeah, I mean, we're talking second out of like 50.
Yeah, I mean, it has the best Mario game in my opinion. Super Mario World is my favorite Mario game.
Mario Kart came off the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean that's Mario Kart. I'm 3D all the way. That Mario Kart I wasn't a fan of, but
at the time though, like you can't compare it to like Mario Kart on the GameCube or something,
Yeah, but as far as like 2D side scrollers, 16-bit, like you can't get anything better. Well, we'll get to that debate.
Almost.
But that's an S tier. It has to be.
Yeah, that's an S. There's just massive library. If we had a category even higher than an S, I would want to put the Genesis.
Here we go.
In my opinion, I think it's the greatest console of all time, hands down, because like if you play a Sega Genesis, the library of games is just phenomenal. The speed, the sound chip in it, there was nothing to compare. The sound of Sonic and Gunstar Heroes and Altered Beast, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. The way that it looked, it was great, and it was competing with the original Nintendo.
Yeah.
It was later that Nintendo made the Super Nintendo, but it was well after the Genesis was already out and just crushing things.
Yeah.
All the Disney games like the Lion King and Aladdin,
yeah,
those were great on the Genesis.
Didn't Contra start on the?
It started on the original Nintendo. But the Castlevania and Contra games that were on the Genesis were phenomenal.
Yeah.
All of them. I have so many memories of sitting there playing Genesis, like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and everything on the Genesis with everybody, and Gunstar Heroes and Sonic, all the Sonic games.
Yeah. Well, and for me, the Sega, again, this is before my time, but the Sega Genesis is kind of like PlayStation for me. Like the games are amazing, but I didn't like the controller. But that's because I was so used to the Nintendo controller. I mean, to be fair, all the controllers back then were pretty bad.
Yeah. But again, I can't say this enough. The only other console out was the original Nintendo. Yeah. With the BA up and the D-pad.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was an upgrade controller wise.
You had 3 buttons on the Genesis, right?
Yeah. You had A, B, and C.
Bam. Slap that in the S.
Yeah.
We haven't gave anything an F yet, but I'm sure we will.
We could slide that over a little bit too.
Yeah. See, I would say it's better than Nintendo, but I can see it being better than Super Nintendo.
Yeah. If Super Nintendo would have came out first and it was like Sega, like, oh shit, we have to copy what Nintendo's doing because we need a good 16-bit console.
Yeah.
Then I would but they weren't. It was Nintendo trying to copy Sega, like, oh shit, we have an 8-bit console. Sega's a 16-bit and it's got a sound chip and it's phenomenal and yeah.
That's fine. We'll keep it in S. Next, we got the PlayStation 1. Again, another had massive library, and people of my generation could easily mistake the games for a CD because the cases that came in.
Yeah. Great. Another great system. The Tekken games were phenomenal. Bushido Blade. It's like a sword fighting game.
First Resident Evil was on that, right?
The first 4 Resident Evils were on there.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. And then they did like a Resident Evil something. It was like a side game. It wasn't 4. 4 was out on like the GameCube and stuff.
Yeah.
Great. All the Crash Bandicoot games.
Yep. Spyro the Dragon.
Yeah. Great system.
Is it better than the PS2 though? I don't think so. I think the PS2 is
as good. It's as good because again, the very first console to have dual analog sticks was the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And it was it wasn't the first console with disc. Actually, the Sega and you know what? Back to the Genesis. Hold on.
The Genesis not have a disc.
So look,
it was cartridge.
It did. So like you had the Genesis cartridge, right? The Genesis, and then like Nintendo made the Super Nintendo, and then there was like, oh well, there's 60. So instead of making you buy a new console, Sega released the 32X that would fit on top of your Genesis. You would shove it down in there in the cartridge slot. Yeah. And then you would put the games up there, and then all of a sudden your Genesis was a 32-bit system. It was, and Nintendo couldn't compete until they had the 64.
Yeah.
But then they added the Sega CD to that too. So you could have the Genesis with the 32X in it, and then they had the disc, the first disc game system. But the Sega CD had like, I think a pretty good Earthworm Jim game. one good Sonic game, and then that was the entire library. It was, I think they made like 10 games for it. They might have made Echo the Dolphin.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that was
it
on the
was
original Genesis.
super. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there too.
So I don't know. I mean, do we put it at least in a B? I
Oh, yeah.
wasn't, again, a little bit before my time. It's kind of, it would be interesting to see because, like, um, someone that would be born between when we were,
Yeah.
to see kind of like how they feel, because you're obviously going to be a little bit more partial to the older consoles and me with the newer, but it would be kind of cool to see someone who was like in between us, what they think of like the PlayStation 1. They might think like that's the best console,
Yeah.
that's an SS tier.
The Gran Turismo 2, like completely changed racing games forever. Yeah, the PlayStation 1 was a great console. And when we get to the hold on, let me slow down. Just one more thing about the PlayStation. Another reason why the Nintendo 64 sucked so much ass. Like the PlayStation
you're
was
pissing
out.
off all the Nintendo people right now.
The PlayStation was out. Like there was already something like significantly better out. And they were like, hey, you know how you have this? Well, here's something nowhere near as good. And it's got a wonky controller.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think Xbox.
Whoa.
I think Xbox is the opposite. So like when I think of PlayStation, I think the exclusives, the games. I'm not necessarily thinking the hardware, the controllers. And it's kind of the same for Nintendo. You're playing Nintendo to play Mario and Zelda and Kirby and Smash Bros. But when you think of the Xbox, I mean, you have Halo, but besides that, I'm always thinking about like the graphics and the amazing controller, like Xbox and Xbox Live. Like Xbox pushed the boundaries for the console itself, where I think PlayStation and Nintendo, or Sony and Nintendo, they're more about the games.
Yeah, and Xbox Live, back to that was the first online service that actually worked.
Yeah, I mean,
all the rest of them were just, every attempt they had ever done was just a nightmare. None of them worked.
That's my biggest complaint with a Switch. If not, it would make it an S. The Nintendo Switch Online's garbage. There's no voice chat, so you have to play with someone online, and you have to download a Nintendo app to pretty much call them on the phone. You can't like join a party. And it's like, didn't Xbox figure this out in like 2004? Why are we
a while ago?
What are we doing here? So
okay, well, I see we have the Sega Saturn coming up.
Yeah.
So this will help out before everybody thinks I'm a Sega fanboy. The Saturn sucked. The Saturn was god awful.
Is that I don't remember. Is that before or after the Genesis?
After. It was a CD, is a disc.
Oh, okay.
It was supposed to be like, all right, we screwed up with the Sega CD, hooking it up, because I mean, you had 3 consoles in one. You had the Genesis, and then you could get the 32X, and then the Sega CD, and people didn't understand it, and so they tried to make something sort of PlayStation 1-esque.
Yeah,
and it was not good.
That controller looks cancerous. It
was rough.
I thought the picture was cut off, but that's just little nubbins right there.
Yeah, it was like a bigger Genesis controller. We just had you could get the Genesis controller that had ABC and then XYZ on top.
Yeah.
The Saturn controller was that controller, but it also had bumpers. But at that point, it's too many buttons.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't play it, so that's up to you where you want to rank it.
That was rough. It was rough. I remember my buddy Ryan. What's up, Scotto? How you doing, man? He had one. And he had like weird consoles. Like he had the Atari Jaguar and the Panasonic 3DO. So we played all the like weird stuff that nobody bought.
TurboGrafx 16 was that was like a
TurboGrafx 16 was actually really good.
None of those consoles we said, by the way, are on this list. But if you guys know about them, tell us what you think.
They just didn't get a lot of development. TurboGrafx 16 again was a 16-bit system like the Sega Genesis at the time that the original Nintendo was like 8-bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'd give it probably a D. It was bad. It was just as bad as the 64.
So let me see if I get this right. It goes 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, and then you're just full 3D at that point.
No, 64-bit was the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, but that's 3D. It was polygons, but it was three-dimensional.
I think the bit here. Hold on, let's Google before we look ridiculous. What the bit in the system?
You know, it's funny.
I think it had to do with the graphics, and I think let me Google.
While you're looking at, I got something to say to the people watching. So we appreciate you guys commenting, and it's it's reasonably debatable. So we want to hear your guys' opinion too. And I like how in some of the comments I was reading through today, some of you guys agree with my dad on some of the stuff. And I read one of the comments and they were like, this young kid, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But then I've seen it the other side. And they're like, oh, your dad, he doesn't know. So, we like that. We like, tell us your opinion. I mean, for all we know, you guys are giving the Nintendo 64 an S, and you think the, Super Nintendo's an F. So just drop your comments below and let us know, and we'll argue with you down there.
All right. So 8-bit graphics refers to the capability of every pixel to use 8 bits for storing the amount of colors that can be displayed.
Okay.
Right. So like bits being like, well, you're not going to know what bits are because.
Like a pixel? Per.
Hold on. Like storage space. Okay. So like you have a bit or a byte, and then you want to call it, then you have like, I don't know, somebody's gonna lose it. Then you have like a megabyte, which is like 10,000 bits or bytes, and then like when you're on your internet speed and it tells you whatever your number is, and then it's like MBS, it's megabytes per second.
Yeah,
and then it's like the amount of colors that can be displayed. In a nutshell, 8-bit graphics refers to a maximum of 256 colors, whereas a 16-bit system displays 65,536, and 34-bit is 16,777,000.
That's 34. I thought it was 32.
But anyway,
but then after that, you're just 3D.
Yeah, but anyway, it's just graphics and how much you can store. And then like I think after so many megs, it's a gig, and then so many gigs is a terabyte, and then if you have 10,000 terabytes, it's like 1 exabyte, and then I don't know after that.
Yeah, well, nowadays storage is crazy. You have clouds and stuff, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I have a multi-terabyte hard drive attached to my PS4.
And let's just say, since we're on the video game consoles, and this is something I do love about the Switch, partially, is whatever happened to just putting the disc in or putting the cartridge in and playing it?
I know. God,
what's this putting the disc in or the cartridge in? Even with Switch, and
then you still got to download shit.
You still have to download half the game.
It's maddening.
And then there's an update. Maddening. Like I put in Red Dead the other day, and it was like there's a 20 gig update. I'm like, the game's way old. Why are we updating?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Don't sell it yet. Wait till it's done.
Yeah.
Finish the game.
Yeah. So that's I miss just popping the game in and playing it.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah.
All right. Next we got the Xbox, and this is I can't remember when you got this. I just remember you having it.
I love the original Xbox. All right, the downsides.
The fat controller that you love and that I hate.
Most people,
my hands can't fit on the thing.
Yeah, most people don't have big old hands like this. So they didn't like the very well. They don't have the original controller in the picture. They show the S controller.
Yeah, which is a good controller, but the Fat Boy,
I loved it. I love the big one. It fit my hands perfectly. I could wrap around, and it's great. So that was the negative. And then the other negative was there wasn't as many games as the PS2.
Yeah.
Other than that, it had way better graphics than anything that had ever come out, including the PS2, like by a lot. Yeah. And again, what we just talked about with Xbox Live.
Halo
was top 5 games of all time.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a sleeper pick that I'm going to throw in as Brute Force.
I remember that. Yeah, they had weird weapons. Like one was like a
You played like as an alligator or a
Yeah, one was like a
girl.
dog guy. He was like half dog or something, and he had
Yeah.
like a slingshot of energy balls or something. He'd just explode. Or
Or Star Wars, The Old Republic, Knights of the Old
love Knights of
Republic.
the Old Republic.
Yeah.
There were plenty of good games on there, just not as many as that were on the PlayStation 2. But the system link, first of all, it was great that you didn't have to. It was the first console that I remember that you didn't have to buy like an extra thing, an extra piece of hardware to like have four controllers plugged up.
Yeah.
And as I say that, I look down at the 64 and I was like, yeah, I guess that one did too. But anyway, we would take if you remember our neighbor Matt and Jessica, I would take my Xbox and Halo over to their house and a TV, and they had Xbox and Halo and a TV.
Yeah.
And we would have 8 of us, and we would just be sitting there it was great. It's great.
And
Sit there for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at a time, just shooting each other.
And I said this earlier, I'm gonna say it again. When me and you were talking, is I talked to this guy and he said, when you're a kid, you kind of take for granted all these video games and the time you have spending, and you just want to be an adult. And then you become an adult and you get a job and you're in the real world and use your money to build these man caves or to buy these games and these retro games to have that nostalgic feeling you had when you were a kid. And it's funny because I work in real estate and I was at a walkthrough and there's a whole bunch of investors there and big important people and stuff, and we're kind of waiting to get into the property and we're talking, and this guy was like, pretty much, what are you guys doing this weekend? And we're just talking and stuff, and he was like, whatever happened to like the good old days when we could all just get together and play Halo? And I was like, that's true. And he was
they used to joke about the Xbox. They used to call it the Halo TV converter.
Yeah.
One, it was kind of a dig by PlayStation saying you didn't have as much games as we did. But another thing was the game was so good that's all people played.
Yeah.
Like I spent just hours and hours and hours and hours playing Halo. Multiplayer, single player, on Xbox Live, on System Link. Yeah, it was great.
And the dude's iconic voice, Slayer.
Oh, I know. And the Halo 2 was phenomenal. It was the first, like, there might have been some rinky dink. Excuse me. There might have been some rinky dink shooter nobody's ever heard of, but Halo 2 was like the first like real game that you could dual wield. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So as for you, is that an S or is that an A? Where does that go?
Yeah, that's an S. Yeah. I mean, I think if you're looking at the Mount Rushmore of video game systems, you're talking about the Sega Genesis, the original Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, and the original Xbox. In my opinion, like if that would be my Mount Rushmore of game systems. Yeah.
I guess I can't call you a Nintendo hater because you have 2 in your Mount Rushmore. So
yeah, they're great. No, I don't hate Nintendo consoles or games. It just, can you just do it once, just one fucking time? Can you guys just make a normal console just one time?
Right. Well, I mean, I guess that's what makes them so different in the market,
I guess.
All right, next we got 2 we have 3 back-to-back Game Boys. We got the original Game Boy, the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advanced.
Shit, and okay.
Yeah.
And I had the original Game Boy.
Yeah, I guess for the time that was probably revolutionary to
it was okay.
Because that came out in the 80s.
Play games, like actual games. Everybody played Tetris and Dr. Mario
Land.
Yeah, but it was wonky. Super Mario Land, it was like it didn't jump right. You kind of floated.
Your fireballs like bounced off the screen.
It was really weird. Like it didn't feel like a Mario game. Yeah.
The color scheme's iconic.
It's green and dark green.
Yeah, but again, if you're my age or even younger, like picking this up and playing it, it's rough. It's bad.
Yep.
But
you needed 4 AA batteries every hour and a half.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a problem.
But I feel like you got to give it the respect for being like, it changed handheld gaming forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up there. I mean, like I said, the Game Boy and Game Boy Color was supposed to be a Nintendo in your pocket, and the Game Boy Advance and SP was supposed to be a Super Nintendo in your pocket. So
it was not. It was not a Nintendo in your pocket. It was certainly was not.
It was trying to be.
Even the Game Boy Color couldn't handle like it was just oof. It was a slight upgrade from the original Game Boy. They didn't have until the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
They didn't have like a good handheld. Like it was the only one, so it was popular just because it was the only one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you rank this because I've only played it in the. Now.
I can hear the Tetris song in my head right now.
Tetris is the number one selling game of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my brain. If I close my eyes, I can see the lines, I can see the patterns. I know how fast it gets on each level. I know the A type and B type and the different, like it's burned in there. But then after that, there's Dr. Mario and then the weird ass Super Mario game. Yeah. Now, I dare anybody out there to tell me another good game on the Game Boy.
Yeah. Yeah, because
other than weird almost Mario, Dr. Mario, and Tetris.
Now, I will be fair. Probably the biggest game at the time, and I know you probably back then you weren't big, is Pokemon. But Pokemon wasn't really blowing up to the Game Boy Color to where you could actually see it. Actually, I don't even think it came out to the Game Boy Color.
Pokemon was out until like...
No, it came out on the Game Boy Color. I know that. Because you could get Pokemon Blue and your screen was blue, or you could get Pokemon Red and your screen was red. But that would have had to have been the color.
Yeah.
So never mind then. So yeah, Game Boy, where are you putting it?
Not good. I mean, maybe a C just for being the first one, but it's not good.
Yeah, and I've played both. I think obviously, like yes, with Game Boy Color, you got Pokemon, which was amazing, but the console was not much better. Yes, it was in color, kind of, but not really. It was like one color.
No, it would let you do like 2 colors at a time.
Yeah, and then you still had to have a light.
Yeah, and the Game Boy Color was 1% less shitty than the original Game Boy. But I mean, it's like sucks and sucks minus. You know what I mean? Like it's
right, and that's the thing is like it's cool. Like people nowadays will mod them and put in like a modern LCD screen, but then it's like, what games are you gonna play? You got Pokemon and you got Tetris.
All right, name another one.
That's it. Yeah, I think I don't think it's as good as the original Game Boy.
I don't either.
I can't. It's not as good as the Nintendo 64, and this might be our first F.
Yeah, the Game Boy Color is probably an F.
Oh, and people are so mad. I know that someone's raging in the comments right now.
I doubt it. One girl who played My Little Pony, you know what I mean, on the Game Boy Color, and it was her favorite memory, is like cussing us out right now. Everybody else who played it was like, yeah, that's fair. That fucking thing sucked.
And then now we get the Game Boy Advance. Now the form factor of the Game Boy Advance is better than the SP. I like the wider, but the screen was, again, you needed a light.
Yeah. A lot better than like the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
But even though they didn't like really change the system from the Advance to the Advance SP,
yeah, it was just the
change to the screen was night and day.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, I can actually see the games now, and it doesn't have to be pitch black in my room to see the game.
Now, again, they have people who mod them and put in modern screens, and I would prefer to have a original Game Boy Advance with a modern screen than the SP, just because your hands are so close.
Yeah.
But as the console sits, I agree. Better than the Game Boy, not as good as the SP. B?
No, let's move the original Game Boy down to D.
Okay.
And then we can give the Advance a C.
Okay, that's fair.
Because it's not as good as a PlayStation, as an original PlayStation. It's just not.
We have Atari pretty high, but that's then again, I can't even figure out how to think
the first one. The first one.
No, but it's rough.
They're like, hey, you know how you like video games, but you have to catch a bus and have a bag of quarters to play them. And then if you run out of money, you run out of fun. Hey, you can do it at your house. Yeah.
All right, next. I'm gonna let people know. I remember Christmas morning getting the Game Boy. I did not have the purple one. You got us the silver one, which they had like a weird name for it. But I remember Christmas morning, we got like the WWE ring with the wrestlers, and we also got the GameCube. I think that was the same year, and
could have been.
And it was cool because me and Nick, we shared the console, but there were so many good games for the GameCube. I mean,
it really was.
There's just some. I mean, it's easily my favorite Mario Kart, easily my favorite Smash Bros. Luigi's Mansion was amazing.
The Metroid Prime games on there were great.
Metroid Primes were great. Resident Evil, when they remastered it from the PS4,
yeah, that was really
amazing.
Good. Yeah, I'd give that an A for sure.
Easily. I mean, if the thing is, it's a failure in Nintendo's eyes because it was like their worst selling console. But as far as the game library and even the controllers, still to this day, I have a Game Boy or a GameCube controller for my Switch, because if you want to play Smash Bros, it's like I got to use a GameCube controller.
Yeah,
it's easily an A. Probably it's my first console that I owned, because I played your Xbox. You had a Super Nintendo in the house that we played, but the first console that I had was a GameCube.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always going to hold a special place. So.
All right. The Sega Dreamcast, man, what a weird one to score. Like, it was awesome in so many ways. And then
again, I don't understand
bad luck. Like, I don't understand why it was so much better than any system that was out at the same time.
Yeah.
And nobody bought it.
Now, I've sold a few of these on my eBay store. They sell pretty well when I have them, but I don't understand what the screen's for. There was like a little cartridge thing you put in the controller.
Yeah, but I think like if you were picking plays on like football, like you could, that way your opponent couldn't see what play you were picking.
It was almost like a little Game Boy. It had a D-pad and a button.
Yeah.
And then you could put the screen into the controller.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. But EA, Electronic Arts, is a big reason that Sega went out of business of consoles. Like they didn't give them any licensing for any games. So no Madden, no NBA, no MLB, and those games make up a lot of business.
Yeah.
And so, but the positive of that is that's where we get all the 2K games from. Like Sega had to develop their own football, their own baseball, their own basketball.
Right.
And that's where we get all the 2K games from. Like Jet Set Radio Grind, which was redone and on the original Xbox and as Jet Set Radio Future, which was great. It's like the first really good, well-polished, cel-shaded game that looked phenomenal. Like the Dreamcast had a lot of good games. It was a weird controller and just nobody bought it.
Yeah, from my experience, again, I've only played them now as I'm having a video game business. Yeah. The graphics, they're great. Even now, like I played I don't know what the name of it was, but it's you're in like a jet ski. Or you're in like boats, you're racing boats.
Jet Moto?
Something like that. And I played it and I was like, wow, and I looked it up when it came out and I was like, for the time, this had to have been amazing graphics.
Yeah.
But that controller is it's bad.
Weird. Yeah. The controller was bad and no sports titles. And then by the time they got all the sports titles, people were already like, oh, okay, the original Xbox is out now. Like, see ya. You know?
Yeah. So for me, it's ranking low.
I give it a C, just because I'd still say it's better than like a 64 or an original Game Boy or a Saturn or a DS.
See, I would put it in D. To me personally, I like the 64 better.
I was gonna say, if we're moving the Saturn to D, then we got to move the 60. Then those four got to go down to F.
I'll give you this. I'll give you this just because I wasn't around. I wasn't around to play it.
I mean, it could be a D, but all right, yeah. If the original GameCube's a D, then that's a D. All right, that's fair. That's fair.
All right, next we got the PS3.
I love it.
Again, a console that I skipped.
First console to play Blu-rays.
Yep.
The Xbox 360 and the PS3 were competing. and Xbox chose to go with HD DVDs. How many HD DVDs do you got laying around?
Yeah,
Zero. That shit is extinct.
Yep.
And you had to buy like an extra drive for the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Like you had your 360 and then you had to go buy an HD player that plugged into it. This is a nightmare. And PlayStation was just like, yeah, this already plays Blu-rays.
And again, my same gripe. Don't like the controller, but love the games. First Last of Us on there. First Red Dead was on there, which was on the Xbox
the
too.
Hitman, the new version of Hitman games started with that. The new Tomb Raider games started with the PS3.
And honestly, probably the best games for the PS3 that I've played was the Uncharted's.
The first 3 Uncharted's were fantastic.
Yeah,
I got
but is it better than the 4 though? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't either. I think it's better than the 1 or the 2, but not as good as the 4.
Ooh, see, that's hard because 2 had more games, but not better games. Well, that's up for debate. Yeah, I'd say we stick it in B.
All right, but it gets the first B because it's better than the 2 and the 1.
All right, we can do that. Now, there's other consoles on here. For some reason, it kind of mixed them up. So I'm going to scroll down to something that we haven't got yet, which is the Xbox One.
I liked it. I bought it when it came out.
And it has the Kinect on there for people listening.
Yeah, and I liked it I really liked that feature. I liked walking into the house and being like, Xbox, turn on. We'll just turn on. I like saying, Xbox, turn on Netflix, play Star Trek. And we'll just turn it on and play Star Trek.
Right.
Halo was good, but Mortal Kombat, it was good.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the same for the Wii. It's like I played a couple of the Wii games, but I used the Wii to play GameCube games, and I played a couple of the new Xbox One games, but I used it to play 360 games.
Yeah, it was.
So
I'd give it a C.
Yeah, kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great.
All right, next we have the Xbox, the new one, which you haven't played it.
I haven't played.
So that's a quick, easy NA.
That's down in the NA.
Oh, grab the wrong one there.
That's another DS.
There we go. All right, next we have the Wii U.
Oh, fuck that thing.
Now,
that gets an F for me. God, that thing sucked.
Yeah, it's everything the Switch is that it wanted to be. It tried to be the Switch before the Switch, but the problem is like the gamepad, you still had to be in the room with the console, and the gamepad was more of just like a extension. So like the DS, you had what you were doing and then like a secondary screen for a map. So like if you were playing a shooter game or something, you would have like your buttons and ammo and stuff on the screen, and it tried to do something and it didn't work.
I feel like they don't test these games. Like they just have an idea. It's like, hey man, let's have it to where all the controllers are also handheld consoles.
I would say
heavy as shit. And you got like
this one's like a brick.
You got a brick in your hand, like, because that's what people want to do is sit there and play fighting games, but look down to see what they're,
Well, and the weird thing was to play multiplayer, because there's a game I played on there. To play multiplayer, you couldn't play on the same screen. So someone had to play on the TV and someone had to play on the gamepad.
What?
Yeah, it was super weird.
I
would say it's Nintendo's worst console, but there's something worse.
I'd give it an F. I'd give it an F.
Yeah, I would say it's their worst, but there's actually something worse. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Yeah, that should have the Jesus. What a hunk of shit. That Virtual Boy.
We might as well go ahead and rank that since we're right here. I've never played it, but you did. I know everyone says it's terrible.
No, it's an injury. It's like, hey, do you want to have your vision blurry for a week? We got something for you. Are you a kid that would like to have a migraine? Here's the Virtual Boy. And it's just red sticks. And it's just like little, it's not even 8-bit. It's so bad. It's so bad. It was
the controller's terrible too.
The worst system.
Probably ever.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the thing with Nintendo. Like, if you look at the top, like they have 2 in the S, and they're the only one to have it. but there also are only 3 Fs. Like
Right.
it's either home run or dog shit with them almost every time.
Well, and that's what you gotta you gotta give to Nintendo is they are the ones to take the risk. Like they're like, we're gonna do the Wii, whether it works or not, we're doing it. And then it kind of works. So then Xbox said we'll do the Kinect, and then PlayStation got their weird thing with the balls on it and the lights.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But Nintendo said, hey, we're taking that risk.
Thing called?
It was their Wii.
Yeah, and then the Kinect, I remember, you had like games where it would put you in the game with the camera, but none of the good games, only just like their weird
So Nintendo took the risk, and they I think, like you said, they were the first ones to do the handheld and the first ones to, so they definitely take the risk. And when you are someone who is always taking the risk, you're gonna have stuff that hits and you're gonna have stuff that misses.
Oh, they fucking missed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we're counting the
there was a robot. I don't even remember what it was called, but Nintendo sold a robot that you would put the controller in its hand and the robot would play Nintendo with you. It was like $500 in the 80s. You know what I mean? That would be like a used car today. And guess what? It didn't fucking work. Nintendo had the Power Glove. Guess what?
Oh yeah,
Guess what? It cost as much as a car, and guess what? It didn't fucking work. It was just awful.
They were doing the mess with the accessories back then. They had like a super gun.
Nintendo
for the Super
had
Nintendo.
A track and field pad.
Yeah,
you had to move the furniture to play the game. The stupid controller was 12 feet across.
Yeah, no, that's
had a stroke trying to fucking play that game.
Now, for me, this next one. This is the opposite of the 3DS. It's the original DS. This is technically the DS Lite. The original DS was a little bit fatter, but you could backwards compatible with Game Boy Advanced. You had a color screen. It had a good D-pad. It had good control system. I mean, the buttons were a little bit smaller than you got on the Game Boy, but I love the DS. I remember when you got it for Nick and me. And at the time, because the DS was new, there was very few games that used the stylus. It was still a lot like, we're making Game Boy games, but here's a dual screen. Then once it got on and they had other DSs and got to 3DSs, it was just full stylus everything.
Okay. One of the problems with that, with the stylus, that was so rough. None of those worked right. But also the L and R, like little,
they weren't teeny
triggers.
They were
kind of, they broke. Everybody I know who had one was like, the triggers broke. I couldn't play, like, they would have like Mario 64 ported for the DS or whatever, right? But you couldn't crouch, or you couldn't like go down tubes because like the buttons didn't work.
Now the form factor was great though. It was like having a flip phone in your pocket, but could play games. For me, it's at least better than the DS, but I can't say it's better than the Game Boy Advanced. I'd probably, again, middle of the road. Yeah, I'd probably C.
No, if that's a C, then we have to move the Xbox. And I mean, I guess, all right, if you played some, I'm
gonna put it a C.
Sure.
It's nostalgic for me.
Go ahead.
All right, next we have the PSP.
For me, that would be NA.
Oh yeah, because you didn't play it. It's I told you this before. There was people hacking them back in the day, watching porn on it and getting movies on it. You could actually watch full movies on it. But the games weren't. I mean, it's cool. You got God of War and stuff, but it was, like I said, with the DS, it was dumbed down versions of PlayStation games.
Yeah.
So it was always like God of War missions. And, Uncharted extra level.
Right.
Yeah, we're back. And the PlayStation PSP, again, for me, it's kind of, I was more of I was a Nintendo kid, so I can't even say that I like the DS better. I really did. So I'm going to put it in D.
Okay.
It'd be a DC. So next we have the Vita, PlayStation Vita.
For me, that's NA. The thing with handhelds, it's like handhelds that came out after smartphones.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? I already have games in my pocket,
Well, especially early on, because like I said, you got dumbed down versions of games. So
Yeah.
at the time, you could play like a Plants vs Zombies or Angry Birds on your phone, and it was fine. Nowadays, with the Switch, you're not going to get games like that on your phone.
Well, the Switch is different. That's like a real console that you hold in your hand.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, the PS Vita was cool. It tried to do like the OLED screen. It tried to, it had two analog sticks. It had two
Mhm.
triggers. You could play PS4 games on your or PS3 games on your Vita, but it just didn't land and it didn't sell well, and it's their worst selling console. So, ooh, um, I honestly, you know what? I'm gonna bump the PSP to a C, and I'm gonna take the
Yeah.
Vita to a D because it's not an F.
Okay.
There's still some fun games on it. All right, we have
Okay.
the Sega Game Gear.
All right. I would like somebody to Google the release dates on these, and I can't say this enough. This vastly superior system was out like before the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo had a not really 8-bit handheld that was supposed to be 8-bit, but wasn't. It was like shades of green, and it was not even really 8-bit. Meanwhile, Sega had a full 16-bit system with a sound chip
And a color
that
screen.
looked phenomenal. The screen was, it took, Nintendo didn't have a screen that was as good as the Game Gear screen until the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
You know, like they had to make several consoles, several handhelds before they got like the SP was like the first handheld console that was like, okay, that's better than the Game Gear.
Now, to be fair, that thing was huge. I've held one of those.
Right.
It's a big old
Yeah,
box.
it was. Yeah, it was as almost as big as a Switch. I mean, it was big.
Yeah.
And but I mean, it was when your other option was the original Game Boy.
Yeah.
And you could play, it was the Genesis in your pocket. Like at the time of the Super Nintendo is when the Game Gear was out.
Yeah, they're making a comeback with the Game Gears. They're making like a retro Game Gear that you can buy nowadays.
Well, now I don't know if you'd really, but I mean, back then to have a fully color, like, and real color, not just like a Game Boy Color where you get two color, but like color, like a color TV screen.
Now, did they make their own games or did you put Sega games in them? I don't remember.
You put Sega games in them.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Like
yeah,
no,
that's
wait, they were
crazy.
Sega Game Gear games.
Oh,
Like
okay. I didn't know if it was
but
like you took a
they would
Genesis
just
game.
no, that would be too big. No, they just ported the games over. They just ported the Genesis games over. So it was like Echo the Dolphin, Sonic the Hedgehog, like all the Genesis games. Not all of them. That was the bummer about the Game Gear, was they didn't get a lot of games on it.
Yeah.
And again, the same problem with Nintendo's first so many handhelds. You needed 4 AA batteries every hour and a half.
Right.
Yeah. So you had to like buy stock and batteries.
Yeah.
Or you had to sit there. They had a plug, it would play plugged in, but you couldn't take it anywhere.
Right. Which defeats the
So I mean,
purpose.
yeah, if you have to leave it plugged in all the time, just have a regular console.
Well, where are you ranking it? This is
It's I put
I've
it
never
a
played it,
lot
so.
better. Hmm. Yeah, it's close to an A. I mean, you're playing like Sonic the Hedgehog at full speed with full sound.
So B.
Back when like they had Tetris on the original, you know what I mean? So yeah, we'll put it a B. It's every bit as good as the original PlayStation.
We might have to move a couple of these in the end. I'm looking at them now. We'll get to that though.
Yeah, some of them they're in the same row, and I'm like, that one's way better than that one.
Yeah. All right. So we got a couple more. Next, we have the Intellivision. This is the ugly thing that looks like a computer or a phone. I don't even know how you would
That's
use
an
it.
F. That's an F. That's an F. Even for the time, they're like, oh well, for the time. No, for the time, it was an F. It was awful. It was awful. If that's the one I'm thinking of, you had like these paddles.
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in on it.
Yep, that's it. So you had to buy like paper cutouts to go over the paddles for each game. So if you like lost and it wasn't even as good as a regular Atari. And then you had to like it was so bad. It was
Has
so
to be
bad.
the ugliest console either. Like I don't know what these colors are with the gold and brown. They're trying to go for like a Cadillac car color, but
No, it was all that wood, all that wood grain, because back in the day, all the TVs were these giant wood boxes that were 8 feet across, so you could have a 13-inch TV inside it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's terrible. All right, we got two left. We have besides all the duplicates, we have the Sega.
That's the Sega Master System.
Yeah,
there
this
it is.
the Master System, and then the Atari Lynx.
Okay, the Master System.
Neither one of them I played, so I'm gonna let you take this away for these two.
I played both of them. The Master System was really good. It was really good. It just wasn't. This wasn't their market. Like America wasn't their market then.
Right.
That was mainly for Japan and some spots in Europe. And by the time you got it over here, like other stuff was already out. It had already been out for years, so
Right.
it didn't look that good, But I mean, like Afterburner, I think Altered Beast before the Genesis version, a few of the Genesis games were touched up Sega Master System. Like they would just take the Sega Master System and touch up the graphics and make it look a little better, and they ended up being Genesis games.
Yeah.
Probably a C, just because it wasn't really big in America. People just didn't really play it over here. Now the Lynx, that I played that too. That was shit.
Now,
that was shit. The
Atari that was the first handheld, right? That was before the Game Boy.
No.
Oh,
no, this was years later. This when Atari was trying to make their comeback with the Jaguar, and it's trash. Just trash bag soup. It was rough.
F on the Lynx?
Yeah, F for sure. And if the Atari Jaguar was on here, I'd give it an F too, because the controller was big as a Wii U, and it had two buttons on top, like this big around, like bigger than my eyes, each button, and then it had a number pad, like an old school phone underneath it. But all right, let's do some.
It's crazy to think real quick that there was a time because I was looking at the generation of consoles, just to give an example, I was looking at each generation. Like right now we're in the 9th generation, which is the PS5, the Xbox Series X, and Nintendo Switch. But if you get onto the very first generation, it was Pong by Atari, the Odyssey by Magnavox, and then the Tesla by Colsila. Like it's way old. And then like Gen 2, you have like the Atari and stuff, and you're getting this, but in television, it's crazy to think there was a time when, and early on Nintendo hopped in, but it's crazy to think there was no Sony and Microsoft. They were so late in the game.
No.
But now no one thinks of Atari, and Atari's not making consoles, Sega's not making consoles, and television's not making consoles.
No. Sega just makes games now.
Yeah.
Atari makes one game now, I think, maybe.
Yeah, you gotta give Sega credit. They make like Monkey Ball, and they still got some good games. Sonic, obviously.
I played the Sega Genesis today.
Yeah.
All
right, are we moving anything? Because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking maybe the Xbox One move up, maybe.
And I was thinking about that too.
Because it has to be better than
it's way better than the fucking DS.
I think it's better than everything in the row.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, the Xbox One goes up. I wish there was something lower than an F to give the Virtual Boy. That's the worst console ever made by any company ever. Like, there's not even a close second. It's funny. Clearly, it's the pound for pound shittiest thing ever made. It was so bad.
It's so bad that if Nintendo doesn't even consider it one of their consoles, when they show the history of Nintendo, when you buy a magazine or a book nowadays, the Virtual Boy's never in it.
I wouldn't admit to that shit either.
Yeah, that was rough.
I don't know how many kids ended up with bad vision or epilepsy or whatever caused by that stupid thing.
And I would almost. Is there anything else you think we need to move? I'd almost move GameCube to S. I know it probably wasn't for you, but for me, that's an S.
Well,
but it's kind of hard to put it over, the three. Well, those are all great. That's A tier, so good.
if we took, yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy
A
to
tier.
think we
I mean, it's an A. It's an A. It's just like the S is supposed to be like
the best of the
even
best.
better. Yeah, like yeah.
It's crazy to think we have no modern console in the S tier.
No, no, because they're not groundbreaking. They're not like earth shatteringly different than anything else.
Right.
All four of those up there were like just phenomenal at the time they came out.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else you think we should move?
I mean, again, I'm gonna sound like a Sega fanboy, but the Game Gear, nah, it's all right as a B compared to everything else. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that list looks pretty good right now. Yeah, that looks good. That's pretty fair.
Yeah. So for the people listening, just to give a short recap, in the S tier, we got the Nintendo, the Genesis, Super Nintendo, and the original Xbox. Everything else is kind of sandwiched in the middle, but at the F, we have the Game Boy Color, the Wii U, the Virtual Boy, the Intellivision, and the Atari Lynx.
Yeah, and with the Atari Lynx, it was like the size of a football, and you still had a tiny screen in the middle. It's like, what? So bad, so bad.
So yeah, that's our tier list, guys, for that. And
Yeah. Hey, I can see us now.
there we go. So yeah, again, like I said, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below. That's the fun part. We like debating with you guys and like hearing your opinion, whether you agree with my dad or me, or think we're both crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and we got some more episodes coming. Like I said, we took a little break for the holidays, but we should be back up and running. And hopefully we can get a couple guests on here soon. And
Yeah, I think I know some fighters. There's some guys who used to fight, some guys who are current fighters. Of course, a lot of people we've met
right.
along the way. We've mentioned some other guests and some people who have reached out to us and told us that they want to come on. So I think we're about there. I think we've worked like the basic audio video kinks and stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're about ready to start having guests.
And guys, we are at, like, I think I checked, and we're currently at 67 or 70 subscribers. Our goal is 100. So please, if you're watching this, hit us with that subscribe. And we're so close to 100. That's our goal. So
Yeah,
let's get
till
to
we
100.
hit it. I want 10,000. No,
Right. Yeah. Soon we want 1,000,000. And next
Yeah.
time we had a competition to see who could go the longest for the November no shave November, however you say it.
Oh, I lost.
And I have not shaved. I got the homeless look because I can't grow a beard like you. So I got the scraggly.
Yeah, like from here forward, my beard all grows the same direction, but like back here, it grows this way. So unless it's not even like a Santa Claus where it grows out in all directions, it's all one direction except for the very back grows out. So unless I want to walk around with like handlebars or stunt pegs on the side of my face,
Well, the funny thing is
I do something.
I get like whiskers on my cheek. And it's bad. It needs cut. I need to shave. I'll look better for the next episode. But all right, guys. Yeah, like I said, smash that like button, subscribe button, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for all the views. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the likes. See you guys.
Appreciate it.